And we are live. Look at Rory in his
Yay.
artful sort of angled
Yeah,
shot.
I know. How weird. See the mess of my house.
It's not a mess. Those shelves are relatively tidy.
They look lived in.
Yeah. Dude,
you can
a house
just
that
you can
isn't
just
messy
about make
is not lived in.
out the mess of collectible card games that I never quite get around to organizing.
Anyway, it is Monday. It is 2:00 in the afternoon here in actually sunny Belfast. What the heck? And me and him, the international it boys of tabletop gaming, the bon vivants of the ludological world.
Okay.
Well, I figured I'd sort of,
Well,
big us
sorry,
up a
as
little
we're
bit.
talking, I'm actually going to experiment because, as you know, I was having technical problems, but I'm going to try shifting my camera over here because then I'll be actually closer to the board game itself, and I won't have to be kind of reaching so far.
It's not a technical problem, Rory. It's a technical opportunity.
Technical, yeah. Well, I am. After my month of playing Untold, and I had the setup working for that, and now I'm having to kind of adjust to a different kind of game. So still haven't quite figured it out, but we're getting there.
So I did. I actually played Orleans solo mode yesterday for the first time. You know me in solo games. It's just not a thing that I really enjoy that much. It took me 2.5 hours to set up the game, the cameras, the lighting. It was.
I hear you.
A journey. It was fun, but it was a journey.
It's the constant nudging and tweaking, like trying to get it to all work together.
Yeah, it's like, okay, so if I move this camera here and then move that thing there and then put that there, there still wasn't enough room for everything that I needed. But it was like, okay, so I'm just going to pick this up and put it under this overhead camera and we'll be good.
Well, I have a kind of a roving handycam. So we've kind of got the board in view and like maybe 2 of the kind of rows of cards. But yeah, I'm going to have to kind of switch camera views for that.
That's all good. Yeah, that's true. So Ken, welcome Ken. Good morning, good morning. And yeah, you're right. The cloud moves and ruins your lighting. Well, actually, I've got a big box light in here, so it's pretty decent. It keeps it relatively stable across the board.
So vibrant, I am getting like a weird bouncy glare on this.
It's true, but hey, it's okay. It's all right. Oh, another thing I learned is I could turn my phone into a thing called Droid Cam. So it just turns into a wireless phone, which I can just put into my OBS. So it's all good. I like it. It was fun. It was a learning experience.
So I actually have like reports to make on games played.
Good Lord.
Yeah. I played God Tier. Did we talk about this on Friday? I can't remember. I don't know if I did it off camera or not.
I think there was a brief mention of it.
I think I might have set it up to play. So I basically played it over 2 nights. Played it solo. It's interesting in that it's a very simple kind of rule set, and it's all about the card interactions, which for your first game then is kind of challenging to get your head around. I'm playing it 2-handed, so I was playing with like 4 factions interacting with each other, and I was trying to use a set of solo rules, which I kind of ditched because I realized I just actually needed to figure out how the game worked rather than follow the AI. But interesting kind of scoring mechanism where it ramps up from round 1. So you're vying to win a round, and you do it by kind of scoring points during the game, which move a marker to your side of the board or to your opponent's side. And then whoever has the token on their side of the board at the end of the round scores that token. And the tokens go up in value from they're worth 1 on the first round, they're worth 2 on the second round, they're worth 3 on the third round, 2 on the fourth round, and 1 on the fifth round.
Okay.
And the first person to get to 5 points wins the game. So yeah, it was kind of interesting because you've different characters that score extra points for either being a slayer, which means knocking out your rival champions, guardians for having banners on the board, which are kind of totems, and if they're still on the board at the end of the round, you score 4 points for them. But there's this whole timing thing of, well, if I put my banner down early, then my opponent has a better chance of taking it off the board. So interesting kind of interactions. And then I gave Another World, It's a Wonderful World, a play solo.
I saw the cards that you'd collected in like this immense line going down like that.
I think the thing I like most about it is it's quick. It's quick to set up and it's quick to play. And if I hadn't started the game so late, I probably would have gone, I'll give it one more go, which I rarely do with board games. But it is just like, how do I maximize my cards to get the most points at the end? That's what the kind of core solo rule set is. So I haven't played any of the scenarios. But I think you'd like it as well as that kind of...
Oh, we've played it.
Solo. Yeah.
We have played it. Yeah. You, me, and... Oh, it might have been like... Aaron, I think. Might have played it together.
Yeah.
And I enjoyed it. I don't think it's the Seven Wonders killer that a lot of people who fall on that side of the fence say it is. But I'm a big Seven Wonders fan, so yeah, such is life.
Yeah.
But it is, I can definitely see that it is a very good game.
I do like the aspect of... when you complete a construction or a building, whatever they're called, you immediately add that to your pile, and so that triggers later, which might give you the resources to complete something else. So there's that kind of nice combo aspect that can happen. But my brain just is like, I don't know what to do. Too many choices.
Oh man, well, what have I been playing? But yeah, did Orleans yesterday. First ever attempt doing it solo. I actually really enjoyed the experience. It was fun and good, but I know that I could just go onto Tabletop Simulator and click a couple of buttons and then boom, I could just do it that way. Good Lord, that is a lot of bots. There you go.
Yes.
Oh, well. Such is life. But yeah, it was cool. And it plays in a very different way to the multiplayer version of the game. It limits the amount of the different types of workers that you can actually get hold of. You have to decide when to make sacrifices. It removes the goods from the game completely. Ken says some happy to mod for you. I mean, it might be an idea. I don't know what the sign is for us on Twitch. We'll sort it out later. Yeah. So yeah, that was cool. Took me like 2 hours to play the solo scenario, which was kind of the time I expected. But it was good. It was enjoyable. Would I do it again? Maybe if I had a lot more table space downstairs.
Yeah.
But yeah, you need a lot of room for it. But it was cool. Did a bit of Fury of Dracula as well on Saturday. Went back to that. There's been a couple of like minor updates, so it's working a bit smoother. Still some slightly odd choices in it, but I did manage to win. So I'll take whatever I can. And yeah, this morning did a bit of work and solo play on my new llama farming game, Lunar Llama Farmers, which was quite nice. It's like, I feel like I'm on a bit of a tear at the minute. It's like, oh God, I've got like 4 different games on the go, which is
excellent,
kind of nice. I feel creative again, which is good.
Yay! So
which is probably a good call for this, to be honest. Yeah, I did punch Dracula in the face. Actually, yeah, Dracula got killed by Mina Harker just punching him straight in the face at the very end of the game.
Didn't bother with like a stake or anything. Just
no stakes with a heart. No crosses. No nothing like that. It was literally just like, "Come at me, bro!" And she straight up punched him, and he turned into dust, and that was great.
Nice.
Just like the story.
Did she like kind of like hang on? Oh, wait, I'm on camera. Like kind of bless her hand, and then like.
The power of my fist compels you. Smack.
Yes.
It is a very silly game, but I did enjoy it.
She dined out on that for the rest of her life.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, I'd watch that miniseries. Like, it was basically send all the hunters over to sort of Bulgaria, and then just have a massive fight in Sofia for a very long time. It's just like, all right, oh no, I'm going to shoot Dracula. Oh no, I'm going to hit him in the face with a sword. There you go. It was fun. I'm looking forward to when Nomad Games bring out the proper 1 versus 4, so you can have 4 human hunters versus a human Dracula, which would be cool. Yeah, so that's coming in the new year, apparently, so that'll be good. Be cool to do. Now, my friend,
yes,
what have you lured us into here?
So, well, I'm going to pull this over here, stretching across. So, this is our game, Holding On, The Troubled Life of Billy Kerr. Yeah, I think I'm kind of in the same boat as you of wanting to get back, trying to, like, having stopped doing Untold, the weekly sessions, I was trying to get back into doing something a little creative as well, aside from chasing like invoices and purchase orders and stuff like that.
Creative accounting.
Yes. Actually, it's one of the areas where I'm totally not creative. I become such a stickler. But we've talked before about the possibility of a Holding On 2, and that if we were to do that, there's certain things we would want to kind of like test or change within Holding On 1 in the base game. And so I think the thinking was, well, could we actually just even start by tweaking the first edition of the game and changing some of the mechanics within that that would work with the components, or some slight change, because then we actually get to play the game using that framework, and then we can carry that over to a version 2. So so it's just kind of we've already made a tweak to the rules that we've put on BGG, which helps with the clear memory cards. That makes life a little bit easier for players and reduces some of the challenge. But the idea was to kind of look particularly at the care system in the game, of how that works, and the tension between providing palliative care and kind of medical care, and explore some of the comments people had about the kind of the randomness of it. So when people are playing games, they like to have control over what's happening. And, one of the concerns with Holding On is like, well, we can't predict what's going to happen. And also that I think there might be some degree of repetition in the activity, or perceived repetition within it. So it was just to look at how do we give potentially the kind of, it's kind of like the illusion of control, or more have a sense that, so to probably phrase it more clearly, is that if you don't actively care for Billy, that there are consequences for doing that. Because I think the view was, well, which I think is erroneous, but it's like, well, the obvious choice is always to go for the memories, which is not the case. But I think it's that idea of maybe having a kind of the mounting risk that if you don't care for Billy, it's kind of your fault if something happens, rather than it being perceived as being a random thing that happens. Though we still need that in the game as well, because he's a patient and he's human, and he is dying as well.
I mean, so that was always the thing that I found interesting.
So I'm just gonna move this.
There was a huge difference between the people who played the game and the people who gamed the game.
Yeah.
So people who wanted to game the game would very much sort of like push for the memories and, screw it, let him take as much damage as possible and blah, blah, blah. And that was, I always found sort of like that weird min-maxing element a bit weird to experience. Because, obviously we demoed this game so many different times across so many different shows in so many different countries. And it was like when the players actually wanted to get involved and throw themselves into the story, and you could definitely tell when the decisions were hard, because they felt like they were impacting the actual life of somebody, which is what we wanted. But then you could also see the min-maxers who were very much more, okay, we've just got to do everything we can to win. I don't care about the story. So I would like to see if there's any way that we can sort of like corral the min-maxers, I guess. Like, we're never going to be able to force anybody into experiencing the story, because that's very much an active choice on the player's part. But if we could at least sort of like temper the people who just are here for, I want to get from point A to point B being glorious victory, and then I have beaten the game.
Yeah. Well, and I think that's part of, like, when people look at what the objective, or the, like, we don't call it the win condition, but we say the objective for the scenario. When they look at that, they just go, okay, well, we have to do whatever we can to complete that objective. And yeah, Billy gets kind of thrown aside. So I think what I was going to suggest is that we because it's been a while, I think, since we've both played. Like, I demoed it a couple of months ago.
It has been a hot minute since I've played this one. It was actually really nice, sort of like going through the scenario cards and everything again this morning, because like a lot of like, holy crap, we did that, and it felt good. Oh, also, by the way, people who are watching, spoiler warning. Of course, there's going to be spoilers. We're going to be tearing this thing a new one.
So, but I mean, I think we can do a lot of it with the first scenario, though. So I don't think we need to kind of push into the later ones until we've got that going. So yes, you will probably see a lot of the cards coming out as part of that gameplay, but you're still not going to understand them because you're not going to be playing through the scenarios, which is kind of what gives meaning to them. So
yeah, big spoilers. Vader is Luke's father. Stupid hands.
So yeah, I think if we jump in and give it a play, and then we can kind of chat as we're going. Now I'm kind of trying to maneuver around the camera here, so and wires dangling just out of view. I'm waiting for that, like, the set to fall over, and everyone see what's actually going on.
This is why we need like a full-on Hub Games Pro Studio.
Yeah.
It's the dream, man. It's the dream.
You can dream. Okay, so to set up the game, do you want me to manage your end of it, or do you have stuff there?
We might as well. I mean, I've got everything here, but the reason I've got everything here is so I can scribble all over them with Sharpies, because that's probably going to happen at some point. But I think this is actually a nice way to show that this game is entirely playable over the camera.
So
especially now with the new rule that we get to keep memories.
He says, yeah. So to set it up, then what color would you like to be?
I will be yellow, please.
Okay, and I will be. I'll be orange, I think. I'm going to move them out of the way. Okay, so do we need to? I suppose we need to kind of explain the rules, don't we? For people.
I mean, I guess it could be helpful.
Oh my god, this is going to be fun. Whew.
All right, hang on. We need to go back into like 2018 mode.
I know. Oh my god.
Before the viruses.
So, so the game opens. We are care nurses working in a palliative care ward when a patient is rushed into us. All we know is his name is Billy Kerr. He's 60 and he's just had a heart attack on a flight from Sydney, Australia to London. The doctors don't give him too much longer, but they say just keep him comfortable. But Billy reaches out to us and says, don't go, I need to set things straight. So the game opens with the first scenario, which I'll read, and I'll explain what the objective is for the game. But generally, we're providing care for Billy over the course of a number of days, in which, whilst caring for him, we're trying to learn things about his life in order to help him and come to terms with the 3 regrets that keep him holding on. And the game is designed to be played over 10 sessions, or 10 games, 10 scenarios, which will gradually kind of peel back the layers of Billy's life, and we'll discover more about it. It's a co-op game. We're working together, and we're basically providing care for Billy each day, which is made up of 3 shifts. During each day, one of us will be the head nurse, and we're going to basically talk, but we'll have the final call on who we assign to... I just thought Ken's quote, how do I win?
Get out.
Assign workers to the different shifts, for example, here, which isn't a great one. And they get to decide what to do, whether they want to provide medical care or palliative care. So the cards show you how many staff are needed to cover the shift. If you provide medical care,
physical care,
how much his condition is declining. So if you don't provide medical care, he's going to drop by 3, which we tracked here. If this ever reaches 0, Billy dies kind of prematurely. If we provide palliative care, we can talk to Billy and gain trust in the form of care tokens, or we can also learn about his past in the form of partial memory cards, which are in this deck here, which we'll shuffle and give out to the players. And they will hold on to until the end of the round, where they will reveal them and add them into a tableau, which is here and will be shown on a different camera.
High quality. So yeah, I mean, I've got my cards here, so I can shuffle everything as long as you're all right, like looking through things when I pull stuff.
Oh yeah,
that'll be cool.
Well, I think I'll just do it at this end. I think it might be the easiest thing, and we'll keep everything. So there's other things that can happen. We can gain stress that we have to deal with, and we'll explain those things as and when they happen. But essentially, we're trying to balance between providing care for Billy and gaining his trust so that we can learn about the memories of his past and piece them together so that we can win the objective, Ken. And the objective is different in each game. So I'll kind of open and read the first one, read the opening for the first scenario, and then we'll dive in, I think, Michael, and start playing. Oh, do you want to read it?
I mean, I can do. I've got my cards.
Yeah, go for it.
All right, I'll do my best voiceover. God, this really is 2018 energy. All right, scenario 1. Who is Billy Kerr? On her way out, the head nurse turns to you. Listen out for any clues that might help us discover his next of kin. Let them know, he's being looked after. You don't know how conscious Billy is of his surroundings, or whether he can even hear you, but you talk anyway about Australia, whether anyone there might be worried about him, and when there's no response to that, about London. Billy's head moves on the pillow. No. Belfast is the first word he has said. I was going to Belfast. Home. You go to stand to tell the head nurse. Billy's hand reaches out and grips yours. Please, he gasps. The effort of talking is nearly too much. Don't leave me on my own. I want to talk. So then we flip that over to the other side, and this gives us the setup and rules which we need for this scenario. It tells us like any changes that we need to make, but for this one, there are no changes because it's the first scenario. What we do get is the objective, like so, super clear. And so, who is Billy Kerr? Objective, unearth some basic information about your new patient. Players must have at least one clear memory in each timeline, 1 through 5, of Billy's collective memories. And that's it. Okay. So we're looking at clear memories in the grid of the cards.
So just see who's going to be the first player. I'm going to kind of shuffle these, pick one. Me. I forget which camera I'm looking at. This one here. So I'm going to be the head nurse for the day.
Yeah, shift manager.
That's the word. That's how out of practice I am. Getting the terms. Shift manager. So I'll be in charge of this little thing here. Okay, we're ready to jump in.
Yeah, let's make it happen.
Let's.
Do you want to grab through the scenario deck and put the objective out? Just
yes, visually.
So we've got it there. Yeah.
So we would have read that. We would have read that. The setup. And we have the objective. Just as a reminder. Okay. So one clear memory in each of the 5 timelines of Billy's collective memories. And they're going to kind of go out here, which I'll figure out when I shift to the other camera. Okay.
Bump him back to 28 health as well, though.
Yes.
There you go. He might be dying, but he's not that dead yet. I know,
long.
it feels weird, doesn't it? This is like going back to a house you used to live in.
Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to reveal the first card for the shift. Okay? So the first shift, okay, it's quiet. Billy seems to be in good form. We can tell by the kind of picture. He's listening to some music. Actually, we need to go big on this. Hang on, so everyone can see it. Is that right? Yeah?
Yeah.
So Billy's in good health. It's only going to take one person to care for him. He only requires one care token. If we actually provide care for him today, he will actually improve in his condition. And we can also, if we provide palliative care, we can gain either a partial memory or a care token. We do all actually start with one care token.
We do.
So I'm going to keep one here for me.
Put mine. If you put mine over to the side near sort of like the staff room, there you go.
Yeah. Though I do know this space is going to fill up with memory cards. Okay, so I think I will just send an assistant.
Now remember, in the 2-player version of the game, the staff, like the shift manager, can jump once can jump once during the round from one shift to the next shift. Normally when you do that, you would take stress because basically you're staying at the hospital for longer and you're working hard. But the shift manager is an absolute powerhouse in the 2-player game and can jump once without gaining any stress. So
yes. So, but I'm still going to send the assistant, I think, for this. Now, so the option is to provide medical care or palliative care and gain a partial memory. I am actually going to have them chat to Billy.
Well, they start with no tokens because the assistants have no care tokens. So
they're going to kind of gain his trust in the form of a care token. Okay, and then that's going to be stored on their board down here.
Cool.
Okay, so next shift. I'm so out of practice. I'm like, I think Billy's going to have a rough ride. Okay, so next shift, it's going to take 3 people to cover the shift. You can see he's in some discomfort. And if we don't provide care this day, he will drop by 2. If we provide, if we kind of stay with them and provide palliative care, we can gain either a memory or 2 care tokens at the risk of him decreasing. So
now remember, we also, as we are medical professionals, we also have to ensure that we follow the rules. We have to do no harm. So we must provide physical care to Billy at least once every day, or else we'll get a warning. And that's what those 2 little tokens on the right-hand side at the top are. Get 1 warning, slap on the wrist. You get 2 warnings, and you will lose the game immediately. You'll get shifted off. Billy gets taken to another ward, and we never find out his story. All right, so 3 spots is a bit rough. What are we going to do?
Yeah. Well, I think I'll go because then I know I can cover the next shift as well. Now the question is whether I take a stress and use the assistant and keep you free for the last day, for the last shift.
I mean, you could always bring the assistant from the first shift, so it's you and 2 assistants.
Yeah, maybe I'll do that. Okay, so I'll take them over. So they gain the stress for having to work 2 shifts. Do this. So we either need to provide 2 medical care, which we can because I've won, and
they have 1 on their board.
The assistants have 1, so I'm going to do that. We're going to
Rory, do you want to do a quick explanation about stress as well?
Yes. When you don't have enough people to cover a shift, you can have basically a member of staff. Let me just kind of go back to. So you can have a member of staff cover extra shifts. And they can do that by moving to, like, as they're walking at the door, you ask them to stay on and help with the next shift. When they do that, they gain stress in the form of these little tokens here. They can also do the work of 2 people on one shift, in which case, for example, I would move myself across to indicate I'm covering those 2 shifts and give myself a stress token as well. The only way to get rid of stress is to go home on leave, which can happen here. So after the first shift and before you begin the second shift of the day, you decide to go home to here, and you'll come back in the next day fully refreshed. If at the end of the day the assistants have 2 stress on them, they're forced to go home on leave and they miss the full next day. For the senior nurses like Michael and myself, if we have 2 stress, we're unable to talk with Billy to kind of have a deeper conversation.
That's not that will not let us get clear memories. We can still do the normal actions of the day, but we can't do the clear memories.
And if we gain 3, that's when we're forced to go take a day off on leave as well. Okay, so we've got that covered. We've also met a requirement for the day, which is to at least provide care once. So we've got the next day, which is fairly easy, I think. So I can cover it.
Because you get your free jump.
Yeah, as the senior nurse. As the senior nurse in a 2-player game, and I'm going to have you cover it as well. Now, because it's the night shift, we automatically gain a care token.
But just 1. It's not 1 each. It's just 1.
Yeah, I'm actually going to give it to you, Michael, because you're going to be shift manager tomorrow. So I think it'll give us most kind of flexibility. Now we got to decide, do we provide medical care or palliative care? I think in this case, I would suggest that we provide palliative.
So yeah, at this point, any players who are on the shift card, so in this case, me and Rory, we should discuss what approach we would prefer. But the senior member of staff, so if it's the shift manager who's on there, they get the call.
The person who's on the leftmost place, gets to make the call. So yeah, I'll just.
I agree though. I agree. Let's do 2. Let's get some fuzzy memories, y'all.
So I'm going to try this. I don't know what the camera's going to look like when I switch. Okay. Is that okay?
Yeah, skillful.
Okay. So I'm going to shuffle and draw a memory card from the bottom. Hang on. And you know what? For ease, I will take 2, I think. Normally I'd give 1 out each, but technically it's going to be a bit of more of a headache, I think. Oh, well, that was our first one. Okay, so I'm going to shuffle and then draw from the bottom of the deck. I can see there's a bit of a glare there. Okay. So the first one says, I still remember us both dancing and singing to the Beatles. And it's from the 5th timeline. Okay, so I'm going to hold on to that one. And then the second one is, I'd never experienced anything like it before. It was a revelation. And it's from the 4th timeline. So I'm going to hold on to them.
Okay.
Deck goes back. And now we kind of reset at the end of the day. And then we get to kind of talk about what we've learned from talking to Billy. Okay, so the steps are, I got to remember, is everyone goes back.
So do you want to go back to main board?
Oh, yes. Good idea. So everyone basically kind of goes to the, essentially, break room. All the care tokens are cleared. Cards are removed. So we basically have a clean slate for the next day. Michael, you're going to be the shift manager for the day. And then we're going to reveal the cards.
So yeah, so all of the fuzzy memories are revealed face up.
Yeah.
So I have mine here.
Yeah. So I'm going to reveal the first one, which is, I'd never experienced anything like it before. It was a revelation. Okay. So you can see it there. And then when you flip it over, each card will show you a picture of Billy at some kind of different stage in his life. And you'll see what we call stitches, which allow you to join the different memories together with each other on the board. Now, we've played this enough where I know almost with my eyes closed where this card goes, but when you start playing for the first time, you're not going to know the sequence of the cards or where they go. That's part of the play, is kind of working at the sequence together. But there is only one right place for every single card in the tableau of 30 cards. So I'm going to put this out onto tableau somewhere here. And then we've got one from the fifth timeline. So the fifth timeline is going to connect with the fourth timeline in some way. Either on top or on bottom. But we can see that these definitely... Oh, I'm going to move the camera here. They don't... the kind of stitching on them doesn't kind of line up with each other, whether on top or on bottom. But this one, we can see that Billy is a lot younger in this.
So yeah, we know that these two cards are not going to be adjacent on the grid in any way.
But spoiler, row 5 goes underneath row 4. So just my own sanity, I'm going to keep them there. Okay. So Michael, you are going to go back to the top view, and you're going to be senior nurse.
All right. So
I reveal the first.
Please, Dr. O'Connor, please flip the first card.
Okay.
See, it's going to be an easy day. We're going to be grand. Everything's going to be fine. All right. So,
I'm going to try shift. Oh no, that's a share screen, isn't it? We can't have us two on the side and have... No. Okay.
Not at this point, but that's okay.
Okay, we'll work that out.
Well, if we just big screen, because we don't need to see our handsome faces at this point, we can just big screen it like that so we can show it off. All right, so this is a nice sort of like relatively light start to the day. I think it might be an idea if I would like to go do this one, if that's okay. So send me to go sort this one out for the morning. So if I wanted to, I could spend one of my care tokens. I could put it on that yellow spot, give Billy some physical care, and that would actually bump his health up from 28 to 29. But I think it's time for us to do a little bit more digging instead. I'm going to go down the palliative care route, and I would like to talk to him, try and get some memories, please. So let's grab a couple of them. And then once that's done, we'll show you all how the... I know you can't see 29. I know. Let me get rid.
He's never going to get there, Ken. Don't worry.
Here you go. Possibly to get to see, Winnie's beautifully drawn. Electric bump, electric heart rate monitor.
Okay. So I've shuffled, and I'm going to start drawing from the bottom of the deck. So switch to Handycam. So it'll either be a card from the timeline or an event. And I say that because it's probably going to be an event. Nope. Okay, so it's from timeline 2. I was sick with the nerves. I almost didn't ask. Okay. So I'm going to just set that over your side of the board. Because if you gain stress, you risk losing some of those memories. Okay, so the second card then is from timeline 1. I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd left behind.
Okay.
There. Okay.
Cool. All right. So now with those two memories in my hand, basically, so these are going to get revealed at the end of the day. Or if you can go back to main shot again, that'd be cool. So now what I'm going to do is the care tokens that I've got, I'm actually going to use them to see if we can dig a little bit more into Billy's memories. So I can do this as many times as I like, as long as I have care tokens. So what I'm going to do is, Rory, if you can grab one of those care tokens and cover up a little spot at the bottom, we're going to dig for some clear memories. So,
so shuffle. Sorry.
So the second deck gets shuffled at this point, and then I will nominate a timeline to see if we can get a match. Now, I know that we've got memory on line 5. We've got something on line 4. Also, something will be revealed from line 2, and something will be from line 1 at the end of the round. So I've got to choose one of those 4. And we'll see.
You can only ask about a timeline that's in play.
Oh, that's in play. Okay, well, I'm going to go then for number 4.
Okay.
So Rory will keep on drawing cards out until we hit either something from timeline number 4 or an event.
Okay, right. So drawn from the bottom. Oh,
perfect.
You got one from timeline 4.
Okay, so that is kept secret until the end of the round, which is all cool. Rory, I would also like to use my second care token.
Okay.
Actually, do I want to? No, I'm going to hold on. I'm going to hold on to that second care token, please, simply because, we might need to spend it later.
Disasters happen, Michael.
Of course it will. I'm on leader of shift.
Okay. So go back to top view and reveal
the second shift of the day. Yep. So that's the morning done, which is all good.
Oh, look at this. He's in good form today.
He is, isn't he? All right. So what I think might be an idea here is I'm going to jump and do the afternoon as well.
Okay.
Because I get my free jump as the shift manager in a 2-player game. And just to cover it, so it's done, I would like to take the care token that I've got and
provide care.
Improve his health physically. So he will go up to 29. There you go. Nice. Now, of course, if I had more care tokens, I could go and, dig for some more clear memories if I wanted to, that kind of thing. I have no care tokens, though, so such is life. That's fine. But it does mean that whatever happens on the final shift, the choice is down to the people who've been allocated to it. Another thing to think about as well is at the end of every round, if there are still people in the break room, if there's still people in that little starting position, they will each get 2 care tokens. So basically, they've spent time over the day just popping into Billy just to sort of like check in on him. So yeah.
Actually, I realized I missed a trick.
I
just realized I missed a trick. Hang on a second.
Nice.
Okay.
All right. Let's have a look at the third card then. Let's see what we get.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
So it's pretty quiet. It's okay. So I'm guessing you're going to send me... Do you want to send me in the assistants?
I mean, I could send you the non-stressed assistant and have the non-stressed assistant take a stress.
You could,
because then that'll give 2 tokens to the board to the assistants to use on a future round.
Yeah, well, I get to decide what we do.
Yeah. Okay.
So, but you want them to take the stress. So, I mean, technically, I would decide. Oh no, actually, you're right. You would tell them they have to cover the shift. Okay, so once we're here, then I get to decide. So the first thing is we gain the care token for covering the late shift. So I think I will hold on to that one. Though, hang on, they're going to have to... I don't know if that was a great idea. So then there's 2 other care tokens. So we can either go for partial memories or care tokens. I think I'm going to go for partial memories.
Okay.
Because he's fairly good. We might as well get these out now, because then we're going to have to focus on providing care.
Because, we know that there's a lot of cards in that deck that have the red symbols on, which will mean that his health will drop and drop and drop. We know that there's events in there that will potentially be quite harmful.
Yep. But also it helps with your clear memories as well, if we can connect things together. So the first one is from timeline 4. I'll always regret storming off like that. She was the only one looking out for me. So I'm going to say he's talking to the assistants. So I'll put that onto their track. And this next one is for them. I love those nights. It was our time together from timeline 5. So that's kind of helping with the potential of the memory he's told you about, that we'll piece it together because we'll connect it to something. So the third memory is from timeline 4. This is actually going pretty well. It was dead easy for someone from my background to get a job back then. That's when we first became mates. And I'll hold on to that one, as if he was talking to me. Not that it really matters for the last shift.
Cool. So, I mean, the nice thing is that we know that nobody can get stressed because there's no more shifts left on this on this round. So with that in mind, let us finish up for day number 2.
So at the end of the day, there's an assistant still in the kind of break room, so they will get 2 care tokens. So we're going to put that onto their board for the next round, and then we will tidy up. So everyone goes to the break room. The care tokens are removed. The cards are removed. And that's essentially the cycle of the day. Kind of how it works. So now we are going to go back to our handy cam.
Okay, so we're now going to reveal we're now going to reveal the fuzzy memories that we got.
Yeah. So this one, it was dead easy for someone from my background to get a job back then. And does that connect? Oh, look at that. Okay. So those 2 connect to each other. This one does not. So it's somewhere along here underneath. So then we've got the other one from this time. So this is from timeline 5. It doesn't connect to that. It doesn't connect to that. So it goes around here somewhere. We just don't know where. And then we've got the next one from timeline 4, which does connect here. Okay, so we've kind of got a row of 3. I'm trying to think. These don't. No, none of these line up with them. You've got ones from timeline 1. So this one is going to go towards the top of the board somewhere. And then we've got one from timeline 2. I was almost sick with the nerves. I almost didn't ask. Oh, and look at that. They actually connect with each other.
Nice.
So timeline 1, 2, we're going to need 3 and 5. Yeah, so we're going to need that much room, really, for everything. So now, look away if you don't want spoilers.
Okay, so this is a little bit different to what the game would normally be, because normally only the person who has got this clear memory would actually get to look at it at this point. And in the version 1 of the game, like the one that we released, if it matches, it will get overlaid on top of the card that it's that it's equal to. If it doesn't match, it would get shuffled back into the deck. So the idea being that Billy has basically told you something, but you don't have any understanding about what it's about. So the version 1.1, the DLC essentially, we now, to make things a little bit easy for the players, say, okay, he tells you this, but you don't know what it's about, but you're going to remember it. So
you don't know where it fits into the overall story. So I'm actually going to close my eyes, and you're going to look at it and tell me whether it matches or not.
Okay. Close your eyes.
Close your eyes.
That is a match.
Okay. So, yeah, cool. So we can see it's basically the 2 cards. Oh, hang on. There. So you can see it's a more detailed version.
So yeah, Billy will always be in the same position. Everything, you will always be able to see him clearly. The stitch will be in the same position, so you can always see those clearly. But everything is like in full color. The memory is now there in full. So
I always like kind of reading the quote again. So I always regret storming off like that. She was the only one looking out for me. So he was talking about his mom. Though if you do look closely, this is cool with this camera actually, you can see he's got an F in some kind of exam, and he's kind of dropping a school bag as well.
F for failure.
Yeah. For feck all effort. F
for family stream.
Yeah.
All right, cool. Okay. So that's the end of the day. The shift manager board goes back over to Rory.
Yeah. I did get alerted about power on my phone, so if my camera suddenly disappears, I am still here, I think. Okay, so we'll start the next shift. Do you want to go back full screen again, or?
I can. Yeah, I'll do production. I'll handle.
Okay. So it's going to take 2 people to cover this shift, and obviously Michael's not left me in great form because I have 2 assistants with some stress.
Excuse me. I think you'll find that yesterday was a very, very good day at the hospital.
Yeah.
Some fine work was done.
I am going to send Michael. Because I'm hoping I'll be able to send an assistant home. At least one of them.
Yeah.
So I'm going to send you an assistant. They have 2 care tokens available.
They do. So whoever's been assigned to, like, so again, it's the most senior member of staff who's been assigned to the shift. If it's just assistants, by the way, it's the shift manager who makes the decision on what to do. And in this case, yeah, I think we'll cover the care for the day. We'll do the physical for the day. Geez, Bill he's never been healthier.
Okay. And now, even though the assistants have care tokens, they're not able to talk to Billy about those memories. He kind of doesn't trust him enough to kind of reveal that information. And I did remember we have these little tokens which can be used to help kind of track visually where a clear memory is on the board or where a target memory is. So I'm just going to drop one on our token to mark that we've kind of completed a memory in the 4th timeline.
Can you bump his health up to 30, please?
Yes. Okay.
Fit as a fiddle. Definitely not on the way out.
This has been a rare occasion when this happens.
Yes, but we know because of the balance of cards that are in there, like, we're just going to get hit with an avalanche of reds and he's just going to tumble down.
Okay, so we're going to do the next shift. Oh my god, this means they're just all waiting for us.
Oh, do you want to send the before you reveal that?
Yes, I was going to send it.
Do you wish to pause for a moment? Well, I mean, you said you were going to send them home, so it's fine.
So I'm sending them home for the day. Now, here's the problem.
There's no problem.
Well, there is. So if I go and cover this shift, neither of you can cover the last one. So it could be a disaster where I have to take a ton of stress to manage this. Now, we do also have the extra, which we hadn't talked about, the on-call assistants, who are like the super workers. So I either get you to come forward and cover that one,
or you get the other assistant to get super stressed and send them home.
Yeah, but then they'll lose a care token.
They will. I mean, I have no care tokens. I have no cards, so I am happy to take a stress, jump over, and.
Okay, so I'm gonna have you cover that shift and gain care, and because you don't kind of have anything to lose. I was actually watching.
It's a very specific turn order of events as well. So you move, you take stress, and then I could get cards, tokens if I wanted to. Yeah. Sorry, man, I interrupted.
No, I was actually watching a Nordic kind of comedy drama, Christmas themed one, and the person's working in a hospital, and basically anyone who isn't in a relationship or have family it's assumed they're going to work over Christmas. And I was just thinking of this. It's like, well, you don't have anything to lose, so Michael, you can take the stress, and I've nowhere to go.
Grant, all the clubs are closed. Can't go DJing. It's all right. It's fine. All right. So my option is, I can only do palliative care, but my options are I can either take 2 cards, 2 tokens, or 1 of each. I would like to take 1 of each, please, Rory. That's cool.
Okay. So I will give you a care token and a partial memory.
Stick it under my bunk in the staff room where I'll generally go sleeping of an afternoon.
And switch to the handycam. Okay, so I have shuffled, and I'm going to draw the bottom card. Ooh, nice, which is from timeline 3. Okay. So it says, it still hurts to think about her. She was my world back then.
Cool.
So that's going to go with you.
Oh, I think you shifted back to OBS there as opposed to handycam.
No, OBS.
Billy's a bit different. That's right.
Yeah, sorry. That one.
Okay. All right, cool. So with that in mind, on the grid, we've got a couple in line 5.
We've 2 in line 5, yeah.
2 in line 5. Okay, then I would like to spend my care token.
Okay.
Trying to get a clear memory from line 5. Basically, I'm trying to fire an event just so folks can see what they're like.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's see. No. So, you want it on line 5, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm basically skipping over cards from timeline 3 until I get to a card from timeline 5 or an event. So we've got an event here.
Okay.
So
if you just want to flip that face up on the on the pile, because we can see that nice and clearly, it's all good.
Okay, so we're basically tracking to see where he is in terms of his health along the top, so you can see the different colored areas. So the first one is the kind of green one, and it basically signifies a quiet moment where he doesn't, even though we're talking to him, he kind of clams up and doesn't reveal anything.
He doesn't wish to share.
He's not ready to talk.
Now, some of those event cards are a bit rougher than that, in that they will be, they'll be quite significant and will cause them some stress, cause them some damage. Some of the cards will also be removed when they fire, but that one just gets shuffled back into the deck because Billy's a bit reticent. All right,
those are the moments when we swear at Billy, when we really want him to talk and he doesn't. Okay, so third shift for the day.
Hey.
Oh wow. Okay. So, I'm gonna have to cover it. I'm not gonna get the 2 card tokens here. I'm gonna cover the shift. I'll gain 1 because I am providing. I'm covering the night shift. I already have a care token. Now the question is, I should probably provide care. So this is the weird thing where you're like, well, I could sit and talk to Billy. He doesn't seem too bad. And you know what? I actually am, because I've, whilst he's going to deteriorate by 1, I think spending time with him now is going to help us later. So I'm going to take another care token.
Okay. And he's fine. Do you know what? He is in better health now than he was when he came in 3 days ago.
Okay, and we've at least provide care once per day. If we didn't, I would have to cover that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So knock his health down. He takes a hit.
So we're all going to go back here. Oh, we leave these. Our assistant's going to come back fully rejuvenated.
Feeling good.
Yeah, and they're going to go. We're going to move these. And so we've got this memory here, which is, it still hurts to think about her. She was my world back then. And we're going to reveal it, and it's from timeline 3. And I don't think it matches up with anything. No. So it's around here somewhere. In timeline 3. Sorry, I should have switched that.
Okay.
So I placed it just here.
What do we call that? We call it floating. It's just sort of floating around.
Yeah.
It'll be.
We kind of don't know how it connects to the story of Billy's life.
Yeah.
Cool. Okay. So back to the overhead view. Michael, you are now the shift manager.
All right. Should we do one more shift? Just to sort of and then have a bit of a discussion after. So we'll see how that'll go. All right. So this is where it either all goes fine or everything burns in a fire. So Rory, would you kindly flip the first shift card?
Okay.
We haven't had an emergency yet.
I know.
But I know they're coming.
Yes. So it means we have
Yeah, we have to be pretty freaking careful here. Okay, I will go with the stressed assistant, I think.
Okay. Oh, it's you and the assistant.
And you got a lot of tokens.
Yeah, I wonder if you send me actually. But then again, because I could. I mean,
the assistants have a token as well, so I could cover that using their. Yeah. Okay. Let's do that for the day then, just so it's so it is sorted.
Okay.
So it actually goes back up again.
Do you want to send anyone home? No.
No need. Everybody in the break room is good. All right, so I will take the free jump here.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm going to leave you in the staff room. I'll take the assistant.
Okay.
And we have no care tokens, so we have to do the palliative care. I'll take the 2 tokens, one for me, one for the assistant.
Now they're both going to lose them. One of you will lose them because if you have to cover the next shift.
Okay, then I'll take them both.
Okay.
Just in case. All
okay.
right.
Final shift?
Final shift.
Okay, so I'm assuming you're going to send me?
Yep.
And do you want me to take the stress then? Oh, well, I'll lose a care token.
No, I'll send the assistant. They need to learn.
So they'll cover that. We
just go back in. I was fine.
So we immediately gain the care token, and I'm going to take it because I'm going to do a crazy run. I think because it's the last round.
Mm-hmm.
So I am going to 1, 2, 3, 4. I'm going to go for 2 memories,
and
then I'm going to talk to Billy afterwards. Now, if we did this, it would be a complete miracle. But it would be hilarious to actually catch it on camera. Okay, so first conversation with Billy is an event.
Okay, so that's going to resolve immediately.
Yeah, and he's not talking.
Okay, so the card doesn't get shuffled in yet. It gets shuffled in once we do the cleanup at the end of this little bit. So
the next
shuffle
one,
again.
Oh yeah, is from timeline 1.
Okay.
It can't end like this, I thought, not when I'm trying to set things right. Kind of fitting card if this is our last round. Okay, so I'm going to set these aside. And now I'm going to start to inquire with Billy. So I will start and ask him about timeline 1. So I'm going to take the clear memories. Up above. Shuffle. I'm going to start drawing until I get cards from timeline 1. Okay.
Or an event.
One event, like that.
All right.
He's not talking.
You're not talking. That's all right. We don't put it back in. It's removed from the deck.
So I'm going to keep... Well, it's left out for the moment. I'm going to keep asking him. So I can inquire about that timeline again. And if I do, all the cards that were previously drawn stay out. But if I change the timeline, all the cards will get shuffled back in. And we're essentially starting it fresh. So I'm going to keep asking him about timeline 1. So we're going to keep drawing cards. So I'm just going to flip this back over.
Yeah. So there's 3, 5.
2. This is where he's like rambling about all this other stuff.
Oh, let me tell you about my childhood.
Okay, so I've got one from timeline 1.
Okay, so you get to keep that one. Oh, you still got a couple of tokens there, Rory.
Yeah, that's why I'm going to max them out. So I'm going to ask him about timeline 2. No, timeline 5, because we've got the most from that one as well. So I have to shuffle the deck.
So it's basically pulling him from that specific trip down to memory lane to that specific time, and we're now sort of like talking about something completely
different. That time when you were a kid and you were talking about the Beatles. Oh yes. Okay, so he's quite actually willing to talk about that one. Excuse me. So I think I'll do it. I'll just go for timeline 2. Now, if I was playing under other circumstances, I would probably go for timeline 5 to make sure I got a match on that one. But I'm totally chancing my arm here because we're finishing up at this round.
Yeah, and we don't need to do 4 because we've already got a clear memory in line 4, so we're all good.
Yep. Sorry, these cards are getting a bit mixed up. Okay, so timeline 4, oh no, we don't need timeline. What did I say, timeline 2? Yeah, so I got one from timeline 2.
Cool. All right.
Okay, so it's the end of the day. We all go back. That was a big conversation.
It was. There's a lot of tokens been spent there, which is good.
But he only talked because we were able to build up trust with him. Okay, so the first thing I'm going to reveal is the partial memory. Which is a kind of, and like this, I thought not when I'm trying to set things right. So that is going to go up into timeline 1.
Rory, do you want to show it on the handycam?
Yeah.
Just so folks can see the picture. Up a little bit. There we go. Great.
So there's a lag. So I think I have it. So that looks like Billy on his knees somewhere. So that's going to go up in the top timeline. They don't join together. Okay.
That top right corner looks like a fine place for it, though.
Yeah. So I'm going to look at the first card from timeline 2 and see where.
Should I close my eyes?
Well, I think I'm going to look off camera at it, actually.
Yeah, you can do that,
yeah. Nope. So that doesn't fit.
Okay. I mean, that's not a surprise because there's only one card out of 6 in there. So it's
but timeline
16.5% shot. Dancing about the Beatles.
Yeah. So you can see the kind of camera of the radio in the background. And they're in their backyard playing. So it'll be like a tenement housing. And let's see if
so that means that both line 4 and line 5 have been dealt with.
Yeah. So this one's interesting, right? So I couldn't stop thinking about what I'd left behind. Okay. And this is the card. So we see him looking at someone, a kind of female and a kind of graduate. I think there's a bottle there beside him, and there's the silhouette of the outline of someone standing in the doorway as well. And that's
so actually
there.
3/5 of the way to glorious victory.
So we actually got 3 of them.
Yeah, that's pretty good going, actually.
So I'm just going to kind of, if I can not knock everything over. Yeah. So you can kind of begin to see how the picture forms. Sorry, it's really weird with the delay.
It's okay.
We're starting to kind of build up the picture of his life.
Cool.
Okay, so I'm going to put this down before I break anything.
Such optimism.
Yeah, I still really like it.
What, the game? Yeah.
So I suppose if we
did
just
well, it's a good game.
Yeah. No, like I like that.
I think Rory's. I think you're losing power, dude.
That's Mike.
Hello.
Okay. Well, actually, I can switch back if I'm not looking at the. No.
He'll be back in a second, everybody. I figured that was going to happen pretty quickly. So yeah, that went alarmingly well, to be honest. Quite happy at that. We'll see how it goes. Rory has been renamed as Billy, so there you go. Don't forget, we need to. I can't hear you. I need to sort out your mic as well, just so. But I'll rename you while you're here. Make it happen. Fix this place up. There you go.
There, I should be back now.
There you go. Gotcha. Perfect. Cool. Yeah, I think that was perfect timing. I'm assuming that your side cam is down to like 0 battery.
The troubled life of Rory's iPhone.
Yeah, because you stick headphones in and you can't power it up.
Yeah,
put power in, you can't put headphones in.
He got the 0 health.
But we'll live to fight another day. So yeah, I mean, so a little bit of backpacking. I'm still very proud of what we've made there. I still think it's a really good game. Yeah, it had its detractors, but people can be wrong. That's fine. I'm really proud of that as a game system, and obviously I know everything else that happens later in the game as well. So it's cool. It's still an enjoyable thing to play.
So, well, I think the curious thing, though, is the idea of, I think we should talk about some of the intent behind the game a little bit, which was, like, a key part of it was the idea of what it means to care for someone. And that, because the notion would be, well, if we provide medical care for Billy and he recovers, then everything is fixed and everything's okay with the world. And the point is, like, it's not really his body that's the problem. It's the memories and the 3 things that he's holding on to. That's where he needs help. And this came from kind of looking at people at the end of their life and the idea that people hold on because of a fear of leaving something behind, of something unresolved, worrying whether other people are going to be able to cope or survive with them gone as well. And so we wanted that poignancy of knowing that sometimes by helping someone, you also you don't get to be kind of like selfish and say, well, I want you to stay, because that's not, they're suffering, and them holding on is not good for them either. So to marry that, we wanted to kind of convey that idea of the difference between medical care, which is like doing your duty to keep the person physically comfortable, but also trying to balance that with the idea of providing palliative care, which is essentially providing first aid and care, but in a more kind of holistic manner as well. And the simple mechanic was to contrast the two of them with each other, that you had to make a choice between each one. And I think, so just to kind of name some of the, not saying whether they were right or wrong, but one of the things people found it hard to get their head around was like, well, I've provided medical care, I should get some benefit for that. So I'm not saying it's right or wrong, but that's kind of one of the comments. The other is, well, can we not talk to Billy whilst we're providing medical care? And that could be something we could look at in a future game. You get something from that, but you get more from providing the palliative care. It could also be that maybe there's times when there is no option to provide medical care. Well, it could be there's no option to provide palliative care. So actually, this is where my brain is starting to spin up now. Maybe there are days where there's just no option to provide the palliative care. And also, maybe on the days that he's stable, there's no need for medical care.
See, I've always had a problem with that,
but
because we discussed it previously, and the whole Hippocratic Oath thing of do no harm. We still need to keep them alive. We still need to keep them going.
But what I mean is, on a state, what I'm trying to think about is on a stable day when he doesn't, you still need to have someone on the shift to care for him, but there's time to talk. But if you haven't built up trust, then there's no benefit, because
that opportunity is lost because you haven't done.
Yeah.
You haven't built up the trust that you needed to do. Yeah.
Yeah. So that might be something in terms of how we cost, like, the spending of a care token. Maybe to act, you might have a different card where actually, even to get a partial memory, you have to pay a care token or something like that. We could add a little bit of variety to that aspect, I think. But I think shifting some of that ebb and flow of, there's not just the 2 options, but there's kind of like maybe more variance within them,
because I think it'd be interesting when it's just like you need to provide care. I know there are some in terms of the emergencies, but there also could just be basic ones where that's needed as well. And I think it might be worth just trying them to see how they. Again, this is I wouldn't know what the implications are mathematically, but I'd play it to see how does it feel when I'm presented with that card.
I mean, I think it would be very okay. I should stop using the word very. I think it would be relatively straightforward to introduce on a bunch of cards a third option, sort of like a halfway between. So you get the opportunity to maybe. I don't know if I would be inclined to have it on all cards, but certainly. So when there's cards where it's just sort of like the split is one yellow icon and one care token, or one yellow icon and one card, or a red icon and a care token, red icon, red card. I would leave those as they are. Very simple binary decisions. You either go down this route, you go down this route, and something very, very simple and straightforward happens. Where I think would be interesting is a third option where if one of those sides has more than one icon on it, then there's sort of like, so it could be like, all right, 2 red health things gone on the one side.
Hang on, I'm just trying to share this. I know it's not perfect.
That's all right.
And I wish I could zoom in. Why? What are you seeing? Oh, yes.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's no matter how much you spread that wideband image,
it stays the same. I don't know how. Scale to window.
There you go. Perfect. All right. So yeah, you could have like where there is more than one icon on either side of the card, you could offer a third option, which is sort of like that medium between the two. It's never going to be like the best option to go for, but sometimes it might be the one that you need at that point. It is a little bit like you can either have like a lot of help in physical, a lot of help in palliative, or you can have a little help on both.
Yeah.
Now the trick would be making sure that mathematically, when those cards came up, if you were to choose that middle road every single time, you would need to make sure that the game would not be winnable. You would have to make the active decisions to go, okay, today I'm going to actually go for a full physical thing, or today I'm going to go for a full palliative route, that sort of thing.
So,
but hey, that's a maths problem. I can sort that out. That's not a problem at all.
One of the things as well, because essentially those two kinds of cards, and then those ones. Because the other thing was, sorry, and I have to confess, I was half listening because I was trying to sort out the technical stuff. Sorry, Michael.
It's fine. Don't worry about it.
So I'll trust whatever you're saying. The other thing is that the game starts with 5 of these in play. I think it's 5. So one of the things that we also talked about was there being a consequence for not providing medical care. Like if you actively on a card like this say, you know what, we're not going to provide this care, and we're going to do this instead. Essentially, you're not providing care for Billy. Excuse me. And there should potentially be a consequence for you doing that. That is a result of your action or inaction. Because at the moment, it's random. As in, it's not random. It's hidden in the deck, his deterioration. But for it to be like, well, no, that's on you because you didn't provide care. No, we should have provided care for him earlier on. Yeah, guys, I need tea, just to clear my throat. Having them being shuffled into the deck because of the player's actions, I think, is also an interesting thing.
You mean having the emergencies shuffled into the deck?
Yes, and that's where potentially more of them being added in. Because again, the balance, it's fairly balanced, I think, at the moment. So it might be that we have extra ones on the side that get shuffled in. So anytime you don't deal with a red one, and maybe like a 3 or something, that as a result of that, you shuffle an emergency into his deck because you're increasing the chances of something happening.
I mean, yeah, again, that would not be like it would be as simple as just adding an extra little icon at the bottom of that little line of 3, little line of 3 red icons. And it's basically like, if this is not dealt with, shuffle an emergency card into the Billy deck. So and that's actually pretty interesting because it does lead. Okay, so it's going to be strange because a lot of this I'm going to be sort of like fighting from a philosophical point of view. The go thing, and do no harm, and do everything you can to save the person's life, and all that sort of good stuff. One thing that I always struggled with when not dealing with criticism about the game, but dealing with people's understanding about the game was the idea of keeping Billy alive versus keeping Billy mentally going. A lot of people saw the option of palliative care as the lesser of the two, because we are medical professionals and we are meant to be saving this person's life, and it's just like, fantastic, he's gonna go anyway. And we really, when we were making the game, we wanted to push this idea that both of the options are as valid as each other. So I really want to sort of like, I want to see if there's anything that we can do to push the idea that, I mean, yes, we know that people need to do the palliative care to get the memories, to get the objectives met. And I was hoping that more people would get that, more people would understand that. Because, if you just go down the physical route all the time, you're not going to win the game. You're going to keep him alive, but you'll run out of time and he'll die anyway.
So I wonder if it's going to take me a while to ramble this through. So
go for it.
Bear with me. And again, I'm trying to look at the resources that are there. So what if, and I will speak to Ken. Yes, like, this can be tough for people. I mean, some of what we're dealing with are people who operate in their heads kind of primarily. So not necessarily connecting with the empathetic side of it. And again, like, there are books that we won't read. Like, there's certain movies that I find it hard to approach to do with Alzheimer's, because I'm kind of living with it. So it's sometimes like, I'm not in the mood for that right now. But there's also times when I'll watch it because I want to grow and learn by watching by experiencing that movie and seeing a different perspective. And the point of holding on is for the people who are like, okay, I actually want to be exposed to that in a kind of safer way than me dealing with it in real life, or having gone through it, going, okay, I'm in a position where I can reflect back on this as well. So it's definitely not something we would kind of force on anyone, but there's definitely, I think, a space for it, for people who want to have a different kind of experience when playing a game, who just aren't into the conquering the market, the world, the opponent. It's a different feel of game. So having said that, Michael, the things that are kind of bouncing around my head are, we don't actively measure, and we avoided it, the kind of mental health aspect of it. So if I take a counter and say we have like 2 counters, one tracking physical, one tracking emotional, and again, I'm just going to like spitball a bunch of things to see what connects, so that if either one of them is in one of these zones when the event cards trigger,
it'll be the lower one.
Yes.
The fires. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And also you can see that where you're actually providing care or not for the person. So that might be one thing. It could be, so then on the cards, there might be a consequence of so this would potentially be a bigger reworking of it, but even right now, kind of going, okay, if you provide medical care, you might get 1 card from completing this, or like if you spend a care token, you get a card. Could so yes, in the emergency, Billy talks about something, but I think that would be on the lower emergency ones. But it could also be if you don't provide the palliative care, he is going to deteriorate on the medical side. Sorry, if you just look after the medical side, his kind of mental and emotional side is going to deteriorate as well. Whereas if you focus on this, so if you do this, he's going to drop. So you could actually just have 2 different consequences, I guess. Whereas, yes, there's a binary in it, but you're kind of getting something on each one, but you're also losing something on each one.
Yeah, so that was always a thing where if people went down the palliative care route, they could physically see that something bad had happened because his health would go down by 1 spot, 2 spots, or 3 spots. If they went down the physical care route and they prevented him from, and this is particularly with the red icons where he loses health, if they actually spent those care tokens and stopped him from going down, they didn't see there wasn't like an equal and opposite reaction sort of thing.
There wasn't an immediate consequence to Billy. All they were saying was like, well, I'm not getting the memories.
Yeah.
From the purely kind of selfish perspective.
And it is strange that it's sort of like, we're both almost cheering on the idea of it. I don't know what I'm trying. It's formulating this thought because it's so weird, sort of like going back to this well after such a long time, because these are things that we've discussed previously, new ideas that are popping up. But yeah, it's almost like one side. So whatever you do, whatever path you go down, you'll get a positive on one side, you'll get a negative on one side, but maybe it's sort of like it's about making the negative version of the palliative side of the card more emphatic. And I think if we were to have a second marker there, that mental marker going down as well, because if something's always going to be going down, whatever choice you make, that's going to prove for some interesting decision making. And it also gives you a good marker as to what progress you have made or may not be making in the game as well. It's interesting.
Here's a thought. That's pushing it a bit further. I think, what if, taking it to the extreme, the deterioration is, so for kind of one of 2 options. So the deterioration is actually generic. So as the staff, you choose what aspect to focus on. So in this case, he's going to drop by 3. Okay, but is it going to be 3 health? Is it going to be 3 emotional? Like, I'm trying to think. What is happening? And based on what you do, you get whatever the kind of benefit or outcome it might be. Or it could be each one of these has a combination of physical and emotional deterioration, potentially. So again,
this point that Ken's put is actually pretty interesting. Saying, I don't know how well it worked, but have a card, we pick one of these 3 things to do, or pick 2. Maybe have it be good things to progress on, but maybe you have one of these bad things happens. Which one do you pick? Now, I'm not going fully down that route, but say, for example, you had a card that was come on, brain. It's a card, and it's got 2 people at the top of it. So you need to assign 2 members of staff to this. But the card has 3 options on it, and you can only choose to do 2 of those options because there's only 2 people on that card. That sort of thing. With that, you could have each of the options be a mix of. Well, you could have the options be a mix of positives and negatives. So it's like he drops down 2 mental health, but you gain a memory because he's remembering something bad that is really affecting him, something along those lines. He goes up 1 mental health, and you gain a care token. So you'd be like, oh, awesome, yeah, I'm definitely going to go do that. But then the other one is like he goes down 3 physical health, and you get nothing. So it's like, okay, so we which of these 2 options out of the 3 do we choose?
I know what you're saying, but they'd all have to be in the same realm, because that's like we're changing Billy's state. We're choosing what state he's in by which one we focus on. So it has to be, okay, this card is about him deteriorating. So how are you going to handle that deterioration? Are you going to provide the medical care? Okay, well then you do that, and you keep him alive a little bit longer. But his mental health deteriorates, or so I think they almost have to be like the one option on the card. It's not like choose 2. It's like you can do as much as you can within that space. So maybe if you're really lucky, you get to cover everything. But the other option might be, so instead of it being the binary thing, it's like if you manage to kind of slow his decline, you can also spend a care token to chat to him and gain a memory card that way. But if you don't have his trust in the form of care tokens, you're only going to get to cover his.
You still got to do what you can to stop the decline, to stop that slide, but you're not going to get the additional opportunity to get a card out of it this time.
Yeah, and I think what we were trying to capture on the cards, because I was trying to remember that thought process, is if you go down the medical care route, you're throwing everything into that, doing it. So I think we can give potentially some reward on the back of providing that care, like we have with the emergency cards, or not, because I don't think you get rewarded for everything that you do, and I don't think nurses would ever think that's the case. But I think giving a bit more option as to what you do within that. So in order to gain the memory cards, it might be at the moment the cost for gaining the care tokens and the memories is essentially you either do it when he's stable and there's no cost, and that's the optimal time. But you can also do it when you don't have enough trust to be able to provide the medical care. So the cost is you let him deteriorate. But there could be an element of there's another how we factor in that mental health cost as well. So you see that deteriorating. And the idea being that if he drops to 0, he shuts down. He's like,
just can't handle it anymore. Yeah, that's it. Never going to talk about it again.
Yeah, he's not talking to you. He's like, so it's yeah. So I think there's something there to possibly explore off camera. The other thing we talked about way back was the idea of a separate event. So when you're talking about the emergencies, I think that was the thing, is instead of having it in the emergencies in the deck itself, they were a separate deck. Do you remember this? We talked about it ages ago. And so the idea, that's where that deck was. So the idea is that if you didn't provide care, it's kind of actually like what we were doing with Prison Arena. So if you didn't provide care, for every uncovered circle, you would reveal a card from the event, from that kind of event deck, to see whether you're not providing care triggered an emergency from it.
Yeah, and it was sometimes you'd get away with it. Sometimes there'd be, no negative result from the card. Sometimes there would be, all right, shuffle an emergency into the Billy deck, and sometimes it was just a straight up, okay, he takes damage. So I think that's an interesting thing to play around. So,
well, I think that would be almost like the first step that doesn't massively change anything. Because again, it's like the consequence of you not putting it, doing this, like, oh, I'm just going to provide one.
It's like, you get an immediate negative because he's going to drop by 2 physical health. So that's cool. Well, it's not cool. It's bad. You're causing him damage.
No, but that was the thing. Sorry. Sorry, it's all coming back to me. This is, there was no obvious track for his decline, because the problem was we were saying you were gaming the system, saying, oh, I know he's this healthy and he can afford to take X amount. So one of the things we were talking about is how to hide that element of being able to calculate how much he was going to drop by and whether we have another day left. It was like, well, can we kind of hide that in such a degree where it's like, as long as you provide care, he'll be kind of fairly okay. But if you don't, then the chance of an emergency is going to increase, and it could be terminal, because it could be, again, just thinking loud, if a number of emergencies come out, that if they hit a certain critical level of emergencies, that's what triggers that sudden death end to the game. Where it's not a track you're watching on the board. It's like, he's had 2 emergencies so far. I don't know if he can take, he can take a 3rd one or a 4th one. And that, whether that ambiguity is helpful or not.
I mean, it could be. And again, it's something to play around with. I mean, something I like the idea of is, obviously, starting the entire game with no emergency cards in the deck, which we posited a little while ago. Something bad happens, you put an emergency card into the deck, you shuffle it up, and boom, away you go. I also like the idea, though, if an emergency card is then, which has been added in, is then revealed, you have to deal with that as well as a normal standard card, because emergencies need to feel like they're emergencies, like they are like the worst moments in the game, or the most trying moments in the game. And then if you pull an emergency and it says, okay, well, you got to draw another card, and then you pull that second emergency that you just added into the deck, like it's gonna feel bad, y'all. Now, of course, all of this is down to we had so many people going, "Oh God, I hate this game. It makes me feel so bad." And it's just sort of like, well, we're now planning on making you feel even worse.
Well, see, I'm not actually concerned about the people who feel bad. It's the ones who.
Headline: Rory doesn't care about making you feel bad.
That's part of you're kind of signing up for, like, and I don't know, like, it's weird. I don't feel bad playing this game. I feel there's times when I feel emotional, but there's definitely. How many times have we laughed playing this game?
Oh Christ, loads.
At Billy,
Yeah. I mean, we put a warning on the back of the box intentionally, so we're saying this is going to deal with some rough themes. You know that it has an old dying white man on the front cover in a hospital gown. It's a very hospital-y game. You look at the colors; it's just sort of like, this is a very hospital-y game. You are not signing up for Billy Kerr's wacky happy fun house. This is
that's two.
An amazing sequel, actually. This thing that deals with a lot of heavy stuff.
That's actually his final moment when the morphine has just totally kicked in, and you just have this crazy dream sequence.
Been there, done that. It's
so
great.
Actually, speaking of which, so it kind of fits in with this. When my dad had cancer and he was in hospital, we came in to see him, and he was out of it on morphine, and he said to us, "Yeah, I just had two guys from the IRA," and he was just completely off his head. So yeah, I've seen the full range of what happens in the hospital, but I always talk we've designed a game that I think that works for people who get it. They're playing it for the experience, and we intentionally didn't make the rule set complex because we wanted someone to be able to sit down after a month and play it and not be having to kind of remember how the whole thing works or how the rules had changed. So, and I would consider that the people who are already on board, we've appealed to them. And to me, it's those outliers, the ones who go, "Oh, there's not enough game in here, I don't want to play it." That's my thing, is if we made some tweaks, can we lure them in so that they actually get, me, I'm trying to shake up people and change their minds. If you can get those people to try it and, not immediately kind of reject the game for being too light, that was just a bit more oomph to the decision making.
Now, I will say that a lot of people who came to us with that that viewpoint, we might not ever be able to convince them to say, "Hey, okay, we've remixed this. What do you think of it?" And to be honest, so be it. Such is life.
No, but there
are people who are going to say, "Hey, this," it just did. I did have people come up to me at shows and sort of say that the decision making in the game was always obvious to them, and I don't know if there's ever been a game that I've played of this where the decisions have been obvious.
Yeah.
So I don't know. I think it might be interesting to see if we can find someone who has played it and not enjoyed it. This is going to sound really weird, but it's okay, why was this obvious to you? Why did you make this decision?
I probably know exactly who we could get.
Yeah,
but I don't know if we want. I'll talk to you off camera. So yeah, I think the way we talked about Marvel Champions has that the way I describe it is there's three. You're dealing with things on three fronts, which kind of keeps it interesting. And I think that's the difference here. Is it's there's two fronts that it's mostly working on. And that's where I'm kind of going. For me, removing that track, that countdown track, the certainty of that, I think removing that to me would help bring Billy to life a little bit, because you don't, at the moment, at the beginning here, you know you can do whatever the hell you want and there's no consequence, really. And that's the feeling. And so, we're not going to care for him, we're going to talk to him, and we're going to gather up the memories.
I've said it 1,000 times. Oh, he's fine. You can go for it.
Yeah. Whereas if you can have a way of, well, we think he's fine, but if we don't provide this care, our actions are responsible for that emergency that happens later. That's the bit I kind of want to try and capture, I think.
All right. How about this? And again, spitballing ideas. We'll see how it goes. You introduce what is essentially a push your luck element to the game. So there are, instead of having a countdown track like what we've got there from 30 starting at 28 going all the way down to 0, you actually have just a 4-band scale. Maybe even a 5-band scale. So for the band, you always start on, so we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. You always start on number 2. So that would essentially be representing the 28 spot. Yeah. And you can do events through the day. You're all good. So you flip out the first card, and it has a couple of little clock icons on it or something like that. And you can do you can do as many events as you like, but if you go over a certain amount of clocks, a certain amount of those icons, you've pushed him too far, and he's going to drop down into the level below. So he'll drop down into orange. Now you could, of course, then spend time on the next day, trying to get him bumped up back into good health and get him back into the green zone, all that sort of stuff. But we still, whatever we're going to be doing, we still need some kind of countdown clock. So we always had the time, like the 13 days as the countdown. So we could still keep that countdown. You could potentially sort of have 2 encounters with Billy one day, and that sort of says, okay, well, we've now got up to 5 clocks on here. All right, we should stop there. But you might feel that, hey, we're going to do, if we push him a little bit further, we might find out some more information. So you flip another card out, and oh crap, it's an emergency, and he starts dropping down. Bad things start happening. If we sort of have it almost as if Billy is being, if you treat him carefully and you don't push him too far every day, he'll be okay, but you won't win the game because you need to get the certain objective met by the end of the 2 weeks of play. But if you do push him occasionally, and you do sort of then manage to sort of fix him up and heal him or whatever, you're more likely to win. I know it's one of those things. It's in here. So you could, as shift manager, basically decide to go, all right, I think he's going to be. I think it'll be okay if we flip another card out and try and do another encounter with him. But you might flip another card out and say, for example, the limit is 6 icons. And card number 1 has 2 icons on it. Card number 2 has 3 icons on it. So now you're at 5. It's just sort of well, there's not many 2s and 3s in that deck. It's fine. If I flip another card out, and then you flip it out, and it's a 2-icon thing, he'll drop down 1 health level. You still have to deal with the card. You still have to deal with what's going on because you made that active choice. But basically, there will be, if you just have it as, there will be days where you need to push him a little bit further than you may potentially like. and then the next day you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that, because then you've got no Ken has returned. Then you've got no numeric health track. It's literally just sort of like a 5-tier system, and if he hits the bottom tier, that's it, you lose, he's out of there. I think I'll have to draw like some big sketches.
So I'm trying to think, how much of that can we manage without like massively changing the system? Because, you know, and I've thought about this, at the moment we reveal one card at a time. So, you know, we have our cards here, and that's partly to do with I think cognitive load for dealing with options, but also you just don't know what's like, I think our view is, like, you can't plan what's happening for the rest of the day, so you don't go in and get the view for the whole day. So, but I think you're right. If there's a way on, I think if we look at that separate event deck, is one aspect, because we have the cards. We can just, you know, we can essentially make it up of anything that's not an emergency is a dud card. You know, or we can pull out all the kind of when he's in a good state. But maybe there's that. Yeah, maybe there's always the option to. I think one of the problems mechanically that people encounter in the game is there's certain days where it's like, you know, you get all the conversation cards early, and then as you get to the end, it's like it's harder to have those conversations, and you can get completely stung on the last day if you didn't talk to Billy earlier in the game, or for whatever reason you weren't able to get those cards. So I think that's a key thing to kind of integrate into those event cards, is when you get to talk to Billy. So we maybe have that more available to players.
So this is my thinking behind it. We've actually already got a counter system on the cards in the staff spread. The ones.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah, so I wouldn't introduce a clock. I would just kind of go.
Yeah, so we just do that. But what I would say is, we don't limit ourselves to just the morning, the day, and the night shift. You can do more encounters in a day. But if you do more encounters in a day, it's going to stress the players out more. And it's also going to cause Billy potentially more harm than good if you push him too far. So, say, for example, like I know across all of that deck of cards, the average amount of symbols of staff that need to be assigned to each day is a shade under 6. I think it's 5.8, something like that. So if you go over 6 symbols, so 6 symbols in a day is fine. So I might flip out my first card and it's a 1 staff, and that's great. I flip out a second card, it's a 2 staff. Okay, that's great.
Yeah, so
flip out a third card. Okay. Let's have a look.
They're all 1s.
Okay, so flip out second card. All right, so right, not so good. And emergencies come out, so we flip out another card automatically. So we have to deal with the emergency and whatever the next card is as well. So now we're at, 6. So it's like, oh Christ, well we've done nothing today. We don't have a lot of time to sort him out. Shall we push it a little bit further? So I mean, what would be more interesting is if we had that two emergency and then a 1 card, because then we could go, all right, potentially I could push this a little bit further. We can get another encounter out of this. So you flip it and you're hoping that a 1 encounter card is going to come out, but instead a 2 comes out or a 3 comes out, and that knocks him down a health level because you've pushed him too much.
I'm trying to think how that's reflected in the ward and the shift. I wonder
don't do the night shift, because like if it's an emergency, it's basically an all hands on deck. Like you have a lot of people to deal with that. So I mean, if you take that last card, that card in position 3, and put it underneath the 2 icons on there. Okay, so this is now officially a 4 staff member thing. So you need to get 4 members of staff on this card.
Well,
and they need to deal with
I had pulled that one.
Okay, so if you pull that one, you're going to have to pull another card. So the one that's in position 3 will now go underneath into position 2.
Oh yeah, so that would go there.
So now we're at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 icons. Now I wouldn't have it be utterly terrible that he can't slip down like 2 tiers or 3 tiers. Well, maybe 2 tiers on like a completely bad thing. But yeah, so you have to deal with that emergency or else he's going to drop down. You have to deal with that emergency or else he's going to drop down a tier automatically. But because we're now at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 icons, that would be the sign that at the end of the day, he's going to drop. He drops immediately.
Sorry, what would be the thing that would cause the drop?
So if we limited it, so if you ever get over 6 icons, so you push your luck, you could get a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, a 1, and a 1. Fantastic. This has been a really, really good day. He's doing all right. We've kept him healthy. We've talked to him. We've learned some stuff. In this instance, it's like he had a very bad morning. The afternoon was bloody terrible. And everybody has... It's almost like moving away from the shift system. But yeah, the most, like you could say, the most encounters you could do in a day is 3. And if you manage to get to the nighttime encounter, that's where you'd still get the bonus token, the shift token at the end of the day.
See, I don't know. I'm very strongly wedded to the shift system because it makes sense to people. Well, apart from in the US when they say it's a 2-shift system.
Well, I mean, you can still you still keep the shift system there. It's just that sometimes the shifts might be more complicated and rough.
Let's hang on, because I'm gonna try and work this one through. Well, I've messed up the cards a little bit. Okay, so it's this day here. Okay, and we're playing a 2-player game. I'm gonna assume we're all in good form. And an assistant and I are going to cover this shift. I've got 1 care token. So the first thing, he's going to drop. As it is, he's going to drop by 2. Now the question is, because we didn't provide that care, I would think something needs to go into that event deck.
Yeah, because that has not been completely filled. Yeah, I would throw an emergency card. And you could actually have the emergency cards scaled. So the first, you actually have them decked. So it's like the ones at the top are the least. So a 2 icon emergency, or goes in first. There's like a couple of them, a couple of 3 icon emergencies, a couple of 4 icon emergencies, and then a 5. But that okay. The unfortunate thing is we have to gamify it because, hey, it's a game. But that if you don't do that, the card, the first 2 emergency card goes in. If you don't do it again, the next 2 emergency card goes in and gets shuffled. But if those emergencies appear, they have to stack. I think they have to, they have to feel bad. So there's some consequence to not completing that physical side, yeah.
Actually, maybe that's where that goes down as well. or something. So then we have the next one.
Okay. So the emergency card that you just added into the deck, you shuffled, and oh my god, it's been drawn.
Okay. So I'm going to cover it because I've got the double shift, and I'm going to, because I now know things are going to kick off.
So that assistant's now stressed.
Yeah.
So
we don't have any care tokens, so he's going to drop by another 2. Another emergency.
Another card.
Yeah. So another emergency has been shuffled in.
That might lead to some sort of horrifying cascade effect. Let's say for now, no, it's not.
But they might be the ones where his mental health.
Yeah, those could be sort of like the significant impacts on the mental health. So those will go down there. So say, for example, they're blue instead of red or whatever. But now, okay, so we've dealt with this. Oh, you didn't look after me. You didn't care for me.
Well,
so
you know what? I think they could be both. I think it could be because we have if you cover both of them, you get this. But there could also be if you don't cover them, that there's a reduction in his mental well-being on top of that.
Yeah. Okay, so we've dealt with the emergency, but hey, we still need to deal with this. Bonk. Miles.
Okay, so we're going to need 2 people. So I can, so theoretically, I can stay on and take a stress, and they can take a. So we basically stay on the shift, but they're going to have to go home at the end of the day.
Or you could leave the first assistant there, or bring a second assistant in, or bring the other person.
So I'm going to call for emergency aid for that extra assistant.
All right.
So we tried to comfort him.
It went badly.
Yeah, we're holding him close. So he's going to drop by 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. And we're providing palliative care.
Yeah.
In this moment.
Yeah. So the idea behind this one is, he's physically taken quite a significant hit, but he's trusting you to well, you're the doctors, you can fix me, you can make this better, can't you? But he's also telling you about certain things from his, he's just jabbering away, under a weird spell. And so then that's dealt with. Because we didn't do any of the physical care on it, another emergency gets shuffled into the deck. And then we do the night shift.
Oh my god. This is a rotten day.
This is possibly, this is the worst day of this dude's life. So, but it's also the worst day of my life. Now, one thing that this is telling me is that we will need to make care tokens. If we were to go down this route, we would need to make care tokens a lot more readily available, or at least you would get more of them. So say, for example, on that first card, the option being, hey, you can get 2 cards, 2 tokens, or 1 and 1. I would say you can get a token and then 2 cards, 2 tokens, or a 1 and 1. So, and then maybe sort of like the second card there in the middle, you get 2 memories and you get 3 tokens. We just have to make it a little bit more.
Yeah, I also think if you provide, I think this gets carried over to these. So, because you're gaining his trust in terms of dealing with those bigger health issues, potentially. So there's more coming, even though you spend it, there's more coming back in.
Yeah. But it's not like, if I have 2 tokens, I can put 2 tokens down. Oh, and then I get 1, I can put that one down. No, you have to have them before you spend to get 1 back in. So, yeah. But yeah, this would be a wretched day, a terrible and wretched day.
This is like, I think in pandemic, it's that overspill that that happens.
Yeah.
So he's actually okay. Hang on. So I did track. He went down by 2, and then went down this. I don't think I tracked this one or this one.
You did the 2 for the first emergency.
Yeah, 2 and then second emergency, and I did this one, so I haven't done this one.
Okay,
so we do get the 1 care token.
You should be down at 24 after the first emergency. He'd be down at 24. He would then go down to 20 after the second good thing, the second standard card rather, and then he'd go down another 4, which would get him down to 14, and then we'd still have to deal with the standard card for that day.
Oh, hang on, no, wait, no. So he went from 28
by 2 there.
Yeah. So 26. Then he dropped by another 2.
Another 2, so that gets him to 24.
Then he drops by 4.
So that gets down 20.
And now he's going to drop by 4 because we had 1 care token.
So and then we still need to deal with the next one.
Just another 2. Oh my gosh.
So by the end of this day, we would have Billy has taken a significant amount of damage. We have very, very, very stressed staff. And, this is very much going to be an outlier day, but...
So are we allowed to carry them over, actually?
Yeah. We would probably have to tinker a little bit with the stress system as well, because we know that people are going to take more stress for when things like this happen. But you mitigate it by... Sorry to say, I know you haven't played it yet, but...
You missed a warning earlier.
Yeah, deal with it.
This isn't a spoiler. This is like not even in the game, so you don't have to worry.
Yeah, it's like version X.0. So yeah, this could prove interesting.
So it's funny because I'm immediately thinking game space, and it's like we're spilling into where we would put the memories. So I'm trying to think of a clean way to do this.
Well, once you've dealt with the emergency, you just slide that card up. It's fine. It won't come off the board much at all.
Oh, yeah, because you're actually well, you'll have tokens on it.
Yeah, you can overlay it. It's fine. That's not hugely out of the system. Like Winnie would straight murder us for putting anything off the side of the board, but
so it would be interesting to try that with minimal changes to the cards, or things we can write with pencil onto the cards, I think, before we make them permanent. Michael's like, oh no, I've already done it.
I'm sorry, my Sharpie is on fire because I've made so many alterations. I think that would make for some interesting decisions.
So that would change.
It's going to require a lot of rebalancing, but
yeah. So a couple of the consequences are you don't know that it's going to last 13 days. Is the first thing. He could definitely drop really quickly. What might be a thing to do is if you manage to fill up all of the red circles, he actually goes up a health as well. You might need to just sort of like work out some positive health aspect from covering them all up. It's not just the yellows that could bump him up. It would like, hey, if you cover up all of these reds, he goes up. We could mix that on the, I think, the 3s and the 4s. Well, I mean, the thing is, it's not like you're helping him get better. He's just deteriorating. But you could do it where on some of them you get a care token, so you've actually gained his trust from it. The other one might be then his health actually goes up by 1. Well, what you could do is you could have 3 red symbols and a yellow. So, if you put if you spend 3, he's going to go. He's not going to drop at all. But if you spend 4, he'll go up by 1. So yeah, actually comboing the. That would be interesting. Actually, that would be quite cool. And we could do something like this where you provide 3 and you get something or something. But it might be a memory or a care token. So you either gain his trust or he talks to you. You could factor some of them into those the way we've done it with the emergency cards. I think the emergency cards the higher ones might need to net you more care tokens.
Better reward. Yeah. I agree. But yeah. Lots to think about, yo.
So I would do it with. My thinking is we just kind of do it with some colored pencils, or for now.
Have I got any sticky paper? Yeah, I've got some sticky paper here, I think.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to shuffle them though, because I don't have any tarot-sized sleeves. Otherwise, I would just mark the sleeves. But if I just use some colored pencils, I can do this, so we can kind of rub things out and change the quantities quite easily, and we just give ourselves like a colored code for what we're looking at.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So the plan for this is we're going to be doing this every Friday.
Yeah, I think so.
Just do it every Monday and Friday.
I would maybe do Monday and Friday because it kind of keep it moving. And we probably will be stopping over Christmas anyway. So, yeah, today is Friday. Yes.
Yeah.
News just in.
Saturday, so time is time means nothing. Merry Chrysler.
I mean, part of it is for us to do this, but also for people to see how we, I guess, talk and work things through.
Yeah, this is the companion series to my Tuesday to Thursday game making show. This is like, okay, so this is how Michael works on his own, and this is how Michael works with Rory. So it's like there's a lot more discussion, as you can see, as opposed to just throwing stuff at a wall and seeing if it sticks. But it's again a completely viable way of working. It's it's just how we do things. It's cool. All right, so are we going to set ourselves some homework for Friday?
I think so. So,
should I then put together a new set of Billy cards, essentially? Well, like an experimental set of Billy cards.
We can actually meet outdoors as long as I guess I'll do the marking on the cards. I can, we can both bring our set of cards with us and mark them.
We're allowed indoors now, by the way, in coffee shops.
I don't think so. Yes. Yeah.
Cafe Nero. Yeah.
So we could just go and, well, I have to be careful with family and stuff like that. So outdoors or indoors, but if we can meet up anyway before Friday and mark some cards together.
Questions from the audience. Ken says, what is this planning thing with Michael? It's just like, yeah, no, weird and different. Slate says, does it still have to be Billy? All right, so this officially isn't holding on to, despite what the title of the thing is. This is, how about Betika? This is essentially us remixing the original game with a view to then potentially using those new elements we come up with in a sequel. That's
and so the next character definitely will not be male.
Because we already have that story in mind. So that'd be cool. We may even reveal at some point. We'll see.
No.
Not
until
for like ages.
Yeah, well, not until I would have the writers on board, I think. So yeah, I think it's as much as possible trying to do it so that if someone had this version of the game, they could potentially do a print and play this Spotified version is what I would look to try and achieve.
Sounds good. Okay. Well, my plan is I will do my usual spreadsheet magic and come up with something. You do your thing, and then if we meet up at some point during the week,
I'll do my staring into space, thinking.
Yeah, I'll do my matrix. I see the numbers thing.
How does it feel?
Oh, you like the guy with the red shirt? Yeah, I coded him myself. So yeah, we will meet up during the week, and then when we come back together on Friday, we'll discuss what we discussed, and we'll show what we come up with.
Yeah.
Because it's gonna. I think if we sort of like keep a bit of homework ain't gonna do us any harm. I think. So it'll also keep us honest. It keeps us working. So I think that would be cool.
Yeah, and you don't want to watch us doing that on stream.
Very, very boring. Yeah.
Coloring dots,
writing up spreadsheets, writing up rule sets, doing tabletop simulator builds. Yeah, they're very dull. Please subscribe to twitch.tv/idlemichael for more of that fun.
If you want that shit, go over here.
Basically. Cool. All right. To those of you who joined us live, thank you very much indeed. It is much appreciated. For those of you catching up on YouTube or on VOD, that is also appreciated as well. Like I said, we'll be back with the next episode of this on Friday. We'll also be around on Wednesday for our Hub Games Hangout, which is about house rules. House rules. Okay.
I had forgot about that. It was like we did have it planned.
Yeah, we did. We don't know if we got a guest for it, but
nope, not yet. We'll see if I can get someone before then.
But yeah, it's going to be about house rules, and I'm actually going to be looking at house rule stuff on my stream as well over the next couple of days, which is going to prove interesting. So we'll see how that goes. Crossover, crossing the streams, literally.
Yeah, so we have to leave some kind of cliffhanger here that you can only pick up on if you watch your stream tomorrow.
Yeah. And then Michael ran out of drink. I don't know. Yeah. Christ, you put me on the spot now. It's just
I'm thinking we'll do this. I'm thinking of all the Marvel comics where it's like you get to the end of a story and it's like, now follow the rest of it in these other comics that you don't read.
Yes, insider jokes because we don't all already watch it all. Michael was a dream the whole time. I mean, true. That's what everybody said.
Actually, that's what your stream tomorrow should open with you like, oh, I had this crazy dream that I was working on holding on with Rory.
Come out of the shower. No, that'll be what the last one is. Like there'll be like a little video when we've finished doing the designs and everything, and it'll just be like Rory coming out of the shower and just going, no, like me going into the bathroom and you coming out of the shower. So you could be Bobby and I'll be, what's her name?
Is it Pam?
Pam. Yeah. And it's like, but the game actually hasn't been designed at all. It was just a dream, a fever dream of a season.
That would be horrible.
It would be horrible.
Someone mentioned yawning in the chat, and it prompted me to yawn.
True, I do yawn enough already. That's cool. All right, we are out of here. Thank you very much indeed for joining us for this this long extravaganza. But we'll catch you again in the week. Have a good rest of the day, y'all.
See you all on Wednesday.
Darkness.